So I'm about to try something new and I don't know if it's gonna work, but I thought, why not record the process? So I want to apply to be a Shopify affiliate, and every time I apply for something that I really want to promote, this is good because they want to make sure, again, everything they do on this platform is to make sure that nobody is spamming the system, but you're not necessarily spamming the system when you're trying to fill out multiple forms to apply for their programs. It's just that it takes a while to do. And I don't know if this is a problem that you have with loads of these sites, but having to type the same information in again and again is really draining. How many leads will you send per day? I don't know. Will you use existing campaign or make your own, whatever it is? If you start to fill those numbers in, and it asks the same questions, you just want to be able to save that just the same way Google saves your passwords and whatnot. And yeah, save it, and then you don't have to keep filling it in. So hopefully we could create something like a smart form filler. I know things like this already exist. I don't know if it exists for this or if the existing solutions work for this, but I'm just gonna see if I can make a Chrome extension for it because it seems simple enough and I get to test it out. So I'm going to use Cursor to do this. And first and foremost, I'll go to ChatGPT and tell it what I want to do, give that to Cursor, let it think about the thing that I want first, and then get it to start creating it. And this is something that you can do in Klein, Cursor, or Windsurf. But I've got the pro plan of Cursor now, so let's just put it to the test. So I'm going to copy this. I think it understands or knows max bounty. So yeah, let me just start with ChatGPT. I want to make a Chrome extension that analyzes max bounty forms. So as a user goes to apply for the program, it looks at the form and it suggests smart filling. I think it might need AI. I'm not entirely sure, but I want to make a auto suggest form kind of thing for max bounty, if you're familiar with the website. If not, here is an example of the form. That was a horrible, messy prompt, but yeah, let's just go with it. This Chrome extension would need to do three main things, and this is ChatGPT 4.0. Analyze the max bounty application form, so detect the fields, their types, and any pre-filled values. Generate smart suggestions. Use AI to suggest answers based on past application user input patterns and best practices for approval. And autofill one-click insert. Let users insert suggested responses with a single click, or autofill them when they visit the form. That's perfect. So that's why it's so important to tell it what you're doing so it can understand the context, because it knows what max bounty is. And I've told it what I wanted to do, even though I told it in a very roundabout way, it still understands. And that's why I recommend giving your rough idea first to an LLM and then letting it clean that idea up and kind of fill in all your blanks, and then give that to the code gen. But then don't just give it to the code gen to go off with. That's when you start to make your documentation or get it to further plan. So there are stages to this. Okay, so it's done this for me. So we got the tech stack and features. Again, it's figured these things out. Use OpenAI or fine tune a local model for personalized responses, store common answers. Okay, so what we could do to just keep this simple is store common answers for repeated use. I'm gonna say, paste this. I love this idea. I think it might be a bit excessive fine-tuning a local model, but we can have a section where the user inputs key information about their business that would help the OpenAI API form its responses better. So just a box or that they fill in with information about their business and things like that. I think that would make more sense because we don't need to get it to train models and things. That makes perfect sense. A structured input section where users provide details about their business will make great AI generated responses more relevant while keeping it lightweight. So use a business profile set. So in this case, it's add the information once and then let the tool fill everything in after that. This would work really well for other affiliate programs that require you to state your case every time you want to apply for a program. I know AWin is similar. So some programs are going to be auto accept, others you're going to need to apply for, and you kind of need to sell yourself to the company so they accept you promoting their brand. Great, I'm glad you understand. Now let's put it all together. Your first response with the tech stack, key features, workflow, and then the new response with implementation plan for AI integration. Let's put it all together so I can give this to the AI code gen. Okay, let's just give it a go. Let's give it a go. Let's take the whole thing. We're just going to start a new project in Cursor for this. And it looks like local storage or Firebase. To store business details and past responses. So we are going to need to set up a backend, and I don't want to add another super base. Let's check out Firebase. Let's check out Firebase. I think the only company I've seen that has Firebase integrated is Data Button, and everybody else uses Superbase. I'm not sure what the reason is. Let's look at the pricing. So we've got a no-cost plan, up to 50,000 monthly users, which is good. A gig stored data. Is there a number of databases we can have? Is it just the one database? Let's give it a go. Let's give it a go with Firebase. No cost, $0 a month Spark plan, full usage of no cost full services plus limited usage. Cannot use additional Google Cloud services. I'm not sure what that means. This looks perfect. I have just set up my Firebase account for the database and backend, so please include this information in the prompt. Don't change anything else. Good. Because if we don't tell it specifically what we're using, it's going to choose its own thing. It's going to hallucinate. It might just choose Superbase. It might choose MongoDB. Both would be great options, I'm sure, but I want to try Firebase for this. And it's just going to finish rewriting all of that. And then I'm going to take this, give this to Cursor and see how it feels about this information. And then this will just be my project requirement document. So as I go through this process for making a Chrome extension, I'm going to need to create a new set of documentation for creating Chrome extensions. So I'm not going to use the same one I use for web dev or for mobile apps, but I'm going to get it to make a set of rules files for some of this implementation. Okay, great. So rules file 2, form field detection. This is perfect. Again, this is why the documentation for web dev, prompt engineering, and mobile dev, prompt engineering would not work, because there are different things to take into consideration with a Chrome extension. And also the platform I'm using, Cursor, has a rules directory. It's not just a single rules file. So when I give this prompt to Cursor and it tells me what it's going to do, I'll then go in and add these individual rules files. All right, so Max Bounty AI powered form assistant Chrome extension. Then we've got the overview, what it does. Let's just double check over that. Analyzing the form and providing AI generated smart suggestions. Users can input key business details, and the extension will use OpenAI's API. And we've got the Chrome extension, form field detection. And because I've got these, I can always go in and edit them any way that I need to. So that's awesome. So let's go ahead and put this in Cursor. So in the general rules for anything I do in Cursor, I've got for OpenAI API, we will always use the model GPT-4o Mini. And for Perplexity API, we will always use the model Sonar Pro. And anytime they update or change that, or maybe I want to use a different model Perplexity is using, I'll just change it. And then it knows that every project I create, if I've not specified this in any additional rules, that if we're using this API, then we're going for this. And that way it won't try and fill in its own model for me to use, because they are known to go back to 3.5 and sometimes even text 003 DaVinci, which is just insane. I don't even think those are available anymore. But in any case, we're just going to create a new project. I made a folder called Maxfill extension. Open. All right, now we have our blank cursor screen. We're going to open up this AI panel. We've got it in Composer, and I'm going to switch to Thinking, Sonnet Thinking. What other ones were there? Gemini Pro, 01. Ooh, 4.5 preview. I've not really tried that yet, but we're just going to put it in Thinking. So I'm going to put it in normal mode. Agent composers can use tools, run terminals, and edit files. This is kind of confusing because they've not made it very clear when it's in normal and agent mode. It's very faint. I'm going to just put it in agent mode, and I'm just going to tell it not to do any code. So below is the idea for my project. Please come up with a perfect implementation plan for how you would create this Chrome extension, but please do not write any code. Just plan the entire thing for perfection and success. I like to tell it things like that because it really knows what I'm going for. So I'm going to paste this here. I've told it not to write any code. I want it to do the best job it could ever do. So I've told it I want perfection, I want success. I didn't tell it to follow best practices though, which is something that I usually do. Let's see what it's doing. Asking me to create an implementation plan for a Chrome extension called Max Bounty AI powered form assistant. That's not what I called it. Is that what it said in the, I guess it did say that. Okay, phase 1. We don't want phases, however. We just want to get it. We don't want weeks. Okay. See, this is why you don't just give it to it and go with it. Great. However, I do not want this implementation to be based on a timeline or period. I want it to be done in stages because we are using AI. We're not using a human developer, so there's no need to stagger implementation into a timeline. What was the other thing? The name. Another thing is the name of this Chrome extension is simply called Maxfill, not Max Bounty AI powered form extension. Or was there anything else? Okay. Rewrite your immaculate implementation spec with the above in mind. All right, let's get it done. We want perfection here, cursor. I need to revise, yes you do. Maxfill implementation plan, stage 1, foundation setup, and so on and so forth. So this will be my project requirement document. The other thing will be my prompt. But because I've already given it to it and told it to make the spec, I can just tell it to continue on from where we are, and I can tell it I'm making these rules files. So now that it's created that plan, I can say, great, implement this perfectly, and that's that. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make those files. So we need to head over to settings, and we've got project rules here, so add rule. The first file I'm going to be making is this one. I don't need .mdc because it does that. And then the contents of this file says you can use Markdown, but you don't have to. Awesome. So I'm just going to copy and paste. That's rules file 1. And the purpose is the description, and just save. And that's saved there. So we're going to add the second one. And I could probably tell it to create these files for me. This is the first time I'm doing them in bulk. So that's kind of what we're doing here right now. But by all means, try and just let it do these for you. All right, so That's done. Those files are now created. We have rules files and nothing else, but we have a whole directory of 9 different rules for each key feature. So as I said, to keep the AI on track and to do as best as we can to get it to make the thing we want it to make, nail documentation, not just prompt engineering, nail the documentation element. So let the AI help you plan, get it to tell you what it thinks you want it to do, and then look for inconsistencies or look for things you don't want it to do, and then correct it. Create the rules files, add the rules files, let it know that you're adding the rules files, and then tell it to implement it perfectly so it doesn't try and do anything else. Now these models are capable of doing this, they just need hand holding. So again, I'm going to copy the project file, the names of them and what they do, and I'm going to say, great, this plan sounds like it is going to create the best plugin on the market for this use case. Just to help you stay on track, here are the project files again. Colon. Now implement the plan above perfectly. Let's go. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, we're still in thinking. Oh, switch from thinking. Don't do that. Thinking costs more. But let's go. It's fine. I think it's going to continue with 3.7 Sonnet now, except it's going to start making the files, and I'm going to let it do that. It's making the icons, so I will have to go and create these icons, otherwise we're going to have some issues. So icon 16.png. Let's go make those now. I'm just going to make them in Canva, and then I'm going to use a tool to resize them. I could actually use Klein on the desktop to resize it. This is what I'm doing. Very, very lazy. No thrills. What I will do is a color scheme. Yeah, let's follow the color scheme. I think that's fine. Now, these are .png, but the smallest PNG that we can make on Canva is not very small. So what we're going to do is, let's see, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go to our friend Klein, and I'm going to get it to make these sizes. So Klein is just creating these icons. All right. And I need to move these into the SRC right here, images. Let's create a placeholder for it. Awesome. So I'm just going to use that file that I created before that I used to make the icons. I'm just going to name it logo.png and put it in that folder. So, okay. And let's put it in the assets folder. Let me let it finish doing what it's doing. And then we're going to go to this assets folder. We've got it here. So let's just replace that. Sample add. I don't think we'd need, okay, because it's going to be connected to Firebase and it's going to have the other ads. The thing is, there's going to be, you're never going to reuse an ad. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I don't think that's needed, but let's just get it done. All right, so I've got the Maxfill PRD markdown. I'm going to just paste that in, remove this conclusion, save that. This should probably be somewhere else. I don't know if it's safe to put it in cursor rules, but yeah. It's a directory that's hidden, so it can't hurt to put it in there. All right, so far this is going great. What else do we need to do? All right, so far it's created the basic project structure, it's implemented the manifest JSON, created HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for the pop-up, implemented the background script and the content scripts, set up Firebase integration, implemented OpenAI integration, created utility functions for storage, DOM manipulation logging, added documentation, created cursor rules for AI assistance, set up. Okay, next steps, testing infrastructure, CI. Okay, before it goes on to those next steps, these two, surely these two are not completely set up, as you do not have my credentials. Now we're going to have to get Firebase set up and OpenAI API. So I'm wondering if it's going to create a .env file for note. Current implementation uses dangerously allow browser true, which is not ideal for production. In a production environment, you should use a proxy server to make API calls to OpenAI. This will prevent exposing the API key in client-side code. This is the downside with using AI or using smart features, because we could just make it so it just saves information and isn't smart, so it's just an autofill. Then it doesn't require OpenAI's API. It just requires connecting to Firebase. So whenever you're adding AI and AI-powered things, you have to consider this, because your API keys will be exposed. So in development, it's going to be fine adding it to my .env, but generally, which is good that it's advising that it's not ideal for production, this setup, and in a production environment, you should use a proxy server to make API calls. So we'll keep that in consideration. But for now, let's run with everything it's doing. All right, so I've got the env example. So I'm going to, let's see, duplicate this. I'll just rename it. Oops, cancel. I'll just rename this one to just .env. And then it looks like I've got to get all of this information from Firebase and then my OpenAI API key. All right, now this next bit is going to be very important because I've not connected to Firebase before. It needs an API key, project ID domain, so like Superbase URL, project ID, which is just going to be the first part of the URL, project ID storage bucket, messaging sender ID, and then the Firebase app ID, and then of course my OpenAI API key. So we've got our Firebase here. So iOS, Android, we're going for web app. Okay, so this looks a lot easier than I thought, because it's got the API key, domain, project ID, storage bucket, everything that it wanted in Cursor, it's got it right here. So I'm just going to highlight everything. This is going to be blurred out on the screen, but again, it's got everything that it asked for in Cursor. So I'm just going to copy this and give it to Cursor. But I'm not going to copy this into the chat because it's sensitive information. I am going to copy the npm install Firebase and put that in the terminal. So in case you don't know, you don't want to put any sensitive information in this LLM chatbot, because most LLMs and businesses, companies train their models and their tools on this data, and they do typically advise you not to do it anyway, because this information could be leaked. So in the terminal, it's a whole different story. The terminal is on your computer, it's safe, and you can put things like passwords and things like that in the terminal because it interacts directly with the application rather than a third party. So this is just the basic command npm install Firebase to install all the files that we need. Right, so it's installed all of those, and then it says initialize Firebase and begin using the SDKs for the products you'd like to use. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy this into the .env, and then I'm just going to tell Cursor that I've done that with the top of the message from Firebase, just so it knows everything has been set up. And hopefully that's all I need to do and it's smooth sailing. And if that is the case, then that's going to be the easiest database I've set up. So I'm about to put this sensitive information in. Please look away. I have installed npm install Firebase, and I have added the API key, auth domain, project ID, storage bucket, messaging, sender ID, app ID, and measurement ID to the .env file. Okay, so for some reason it's trying to update .env example. I have no idea why, because I've told it I've already updated the .env, and I just told it that. Now that we've created all the necessary files for the installation handler, let's fix the indentation issues in the background. Okay, now let's update the Webpack config. Fingers crossed that this just works. I'm really interested to see what it looks like, how it behaves, because since giving it the files and the PRD, it's just gone off on its own thing. All I've done is added the icons and the basic logo I made in Canva, if you could call it a logo, and keep clicking accept. Real vibe coding vibes here. And then adding the Firebase, so setting up Firebase and then adding the information, which was very, very simple, very straightforward compared to what I expected. So I'm really hoping it's giving me good messages. It's like, great, it's like, this was successful, perfect. So really hoping we can continue in this manner. Great, everything is now properly included in the build. Installation handler is now complete. Should work correctly. Here's a summary of what we've accomplished. We've updated the background. Okay, things I didn't know it was doing. Show the welcome page when the extension is first installed. That's cool. So I've actually made an extension before in Klein, but it didn't do any of this stuff. It didn't do any of this stuff. It made the basic files, and I had to keep going back when things didn't work. It was a Facebook scraping Chrome extension. It worked to a degree, and then I just ran into a roadblock basically, and every time I went back to Klein, there was something new that it missed, and that's what I don't like. Here are some key areas we can work on. Testing the extension, make sure everything works as expected. Implementing Firebase analytics integration. We should ensure the analytics events are properly tracked. Create a privacy policy page. All right, so what I want to do is get it to check these rules files. Have we followed the rules and the maxfill PRD to make sure this is all implemented as we planned? For context, I've pasted but I want to add, let me see if I can just put it in there for context. No, okay, yeah. I want the whole folder. All right, let's just add them one by one. And this. So I'm asking it if it's followed the rules and the documentation, and if so, then everything should be fine and we can test it. So it's just opening up all the documentation. I've just clicked next in Firebase, and I've seen npm install Firebase tools. I'm not sure if it's done that already, but I'm going to run that, and this is in the terminal, so it shouldn't affect anything I'm doing on this side. It's installing that, so that might have been an issue if it didn't. Oh, issues, copy that, add that to chat. So just going back up here, it looks like it's implemented everything. So implementation status against PRD and rules. It's done the foundation, the core system development, smart features, AI suggestion system, advanced capabilities, traffic strategy, recommendations. Okay, refinement and deployment. We've made good progress on refinement, created installation and update handlers. Alignment with cursor rules, Chrome extension structure using manifest v3 as required, following the recommended folder structure. Okay. Using DOM manipulation to detect form fields. It looks like it's done everything that it set out to do, but whether that works is another story. So let me just get it to check these errors out I got when I ran npm install -g firebase -tools. Ooh, everything was going well until that dash. So am I supposed to deploy it to Firebase in this way, or is the extension ready to test as is? I need your expertise on this because I have no idea. You're asking a great question about the deployment approach for your Chrome extension. Let me clarify this for you. Chrome extension versus Firebase hosting. There is an important distinction to make here. Chrome extensions are deployed to the Chrome web store, not Firebase hosting. Firebase hosting is typically used for web applications, not Chrome extensions. For your Maxfill Chrome extension, you don't need to deploy to Firebase hosting. Firebase being used in your project for data storage and synchronization through Firebase services like Firebase. Okay, yeah, makes sense. The correct approach for your extension: build your extension, you've already done this. Test locally, load the extension in developer mode in Chrome. Package for distribution, create a zip file for your distribution. Submit to the Chrome Web Store when it's ready for public release. So we're still in this phase. If we get it working and it's all good, then we can actually go ahead and go through with packaging it up into a zip file and testing that out. All right, so what we're going to do is focus on testing locally. How to test your Chrome extension: open Chrome. Yep, we got to get into developer mode and then load unpacked. The extension should now be installed. Okay, what do I run this for then? Let's run it anyway. Your extension is ready. Okay, ready to test. First and foremost, let's get into developer mode. So let's bring this up over here. Very, very simple instructions here to get this into developer mode. So we're going to visit this URL and it says enable developer mode in the top right corner, which we already have on. And then click load unpacked. And then we need to open this dist folder. So select, and then it says failed. So we're going to take this failed message and give it to cursor, of course, and then it's going to fix it, and then we're going to try that again. I see the issue. The error indicates there's a problem with the paths in your manifest. Let's fix this by examining the manifest file. Could not resolve, as I suspected. The build process has flattened the directory structure, blah, blah, blah. Icons are all there, logos all there. It's checking over the HTML and CSS. It's grepping things. Files in the dist directory are still referencing assets with relative paths like assets. We need to update these paths. Okay, it's showing up now for some reason. I don't know if it was there before. I don't think it was, but it looks like it's working. AI-powered form assistant for max bounty campaign applications. Why does it inactive, active? Okay, now it's under a megabyte. Pin to toolbar. Extension options. Oh wow. Oh wow. So this is the settings page, the HTML page that it was building. So we've got the logo here, Maxfill settings. And then I guess you can start to add your, so you put your own API key in. That makes the most sense rather than me having one, because it would be a free Chrome extension. So rather than me having my API key in there, if you want the smart features to add your own, that makes the most sense. Sidebar, fixed panel. This is quite cool. All right, so we can just go ahead and test it because this, let's see. And my typical traffic sources, offer types, additional information about your business that could help generate better suggestions. And then let's go ahead and put the OpenAI API key in. Let's see if it's going to be awesome, nice and protected. And GPT-4o Mini by default. Again, why it would have turbo there, I don't know. I'm hoping that the lack of a dash in between 4.0 and mini doesn't cause any issues. Inline or sidebar fixed panel. Automatically generate suggestions when form is detected. So far so good. So far so good. Now let's open up Max Bounty. All right, we're signed in. We're back on this page. How do we get it to run? Oh, wow, no Max Bounty form detected. This is actually really cool. We just need it to work. And then we can go to more settings there. So this works. Cursor has made this Chrome extension. Of course, I'm gonna have to troubleshoot to get it actually working to detect the form, but it's made it. And once it's working, I will be able to submit it to the Chrome extension stored. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just try and troubleshoot this. See if we can get it to fix that. But all in all, I would say that's a success. It's created the Chrome extension. We've got the settings. And when you go over here, you've got the extended options. So you can add your additional business information, and this is going to help the AI so it doesn't just come up with nonsense. So you could give it all the information you need about your business or about your sites that you want to run these affiliate ads on, and then add your OpenAI API key, and then when it generates smart responses wherever it needs to, it will be doing it with context. So there's definitely some troubleshooting needed to have it pick up these forms properly, and that's what I'm going to iterate on, but I would say that's a success. It's successfully created the Chrome extension. Now we've got to see if we could get it approved and into the Chrome extension store. So stay tuned, watch this space.